Well, I can't believe I'm doing this. A live stream on YouTube, and it's not me testing out a game on there to see how people are. Well,
Mm-hmm.
if you heard him, good. We're having Christian Dixie here today. And I don't know if you see the screen or not, but I don't know if I chose the best picture of you from the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Your mouth's kind of open in it, but that's.
Oh, that's fine.
But for those who don't know, he was on Wheel of Fortune in real life around 2020 before the coronavirus happened. He was
Mhm.
on College Week that season. And I guess I have to start. What do you normally do during your week?
Well, during my week, I just I work at FedEx as a package handler, so I usually work, and then when I'm not working, just getting sleeping a lot and binge watching a lot of Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, I
That's what I
understand that feeling on both sides. The
yeah.
binging of TV shows. I've been stuck on American Gladiators recently, the original
Yeah.
run, and
Yeah.
with trying to keep myself busy. So, how long did it take for you to finally appear on the show after you first thought of auditioning?
It took me 3 years. The first time that I had tried out or auditioned was in February 2017 for Teen Week. But I didn't hear anything, and unbeknownst to me at the time, that would be the last season that Will would do Teen Week, and they ended up discontinuing Teen Week. So I tried again a couple years later in May of 2019. That is when I sent in my second application for College Week. And then 10 days after I applied, they had invited me to an in person audition in Detroit, Michigan. And I went there and auditioned, and I waited 7 months from there. That was up until January of 2020 when they had called me and let me know that I was selected, and they let me know of my tape date 2 weeks ahead of time, and went out to tape the episode in February 2020, and then the episode aired on St. Patrick's Day 2020.
Well, congratulations on making it that far and on winning the game.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I don't want to delve into fewer questions this early, but I did get asked about how long. Well, actually, I asked one of the questions already about between the about how long you had to wait, but how long was it between episode taping and the air date?
So it was a month, almost a month and a half. So we taped the episodes on February 6th, 2020, and the air date was on St. Patrick's Day, 2020. So it was about a month and a half between the tape date and the air date.
And someone in chat asked if the wheel was heavy. In fact, that was also asked by Will Watcher 1230 on the Discord side of things. In fact, at least 3 people ask it as of now.
Uh, uh, this is the wheel of it. It was. It was. It weighs 2,400 pounds, and we got to rehearse. We got to practice spinning the wheel during rehearsal, and getting a feel for the wheel, and all that good stuff. So I definitely would say that it takes some work to get a good spin.
Yeah, I wonder how heavy the Wheel of Fortune live wheel will be in
Oh
comparison.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you guys in chat haven't heard, we are having a live tour version of the show now.
Yes, and the first stop is gonna be in Indianapolis, which is really close to me. I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is like 2 hours away. So
Might be hours away from mine too, where I live. Won't go any further than that though.
yeah,
But considering how close it is to coronavirus your episode aired, I this has to
yeah.
be asked. Plus, Stranger Cook did bring this up when I brought up the idea of us doing this together.
Mhm.
Since it was near the beginning of the pandemic, how did they handle any trips you've won?
Yeah, so the trips they had they kept, pushing back when I would take the trip uh and the taxes. I had to pay taxes on the trip as well, and um, I had to wait for literally over 2 years since they initially said that you have a year to take the trip, um, and then the resort was closed for a while, and then the resort had opened up in October of last year and uh, started planning for dates. You get to pick up to 3 dates on when you want to take the trip. It was six nights, yeah, 7 days, 6 nights at the Club Barbados Resort. And if one of the dates didn't work, then they would try the other two dates, and then um, I ended up choosing June of this year, this month, literally.
Yeah, I I
I,
I did hear you were away for a while before we started talking about all this stuff.
mhm. Yeah, I was in Barbados. Like I actually I it's been a week since I've been back in the States, but the trip was wonderful. I really enjoyed
Bet it felt
myself.
surreal,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I want to know how was your trips?
Yeah, the trip was amazing. Once we got there, I will say that the we flew out through American Airlines, and the we had some mishaps on, like, in flight wise, and on the way there and on the way back too. So I mean, there was like, it was of no fault of Sony, by the way, obviously, since they were the
Right,
ones that booked the trips and chose the airlines. But there is a lot of times where our gate got switched around, and the time of the departure and the boarding got switched around, and it was a lot, to say the least. But
yeah.
once we got there, it was a great time. I had a blast, and I took my mom with me. I got to take a plus one, and that was my mom, and that was really nice. We both had a great time, and I'm just glad that I finally got to take the trip.
Yeah, good to hear that you could do so after a while.
Yeah.
Well, now as I look in the YouTube chat,
Hmm.
Brian here asked what was your experience on Wheel of Fortune. I don't know if he meant what you did or
Like the whole tape day.
yeah.
Oh.
That would
Yeah.
also that would also take care of a few questions I had banked from Stranger Coog.
Mhm. Yeah.
How was your
So
tape day like?
right. So tape day. I had to. We. I stayed at the one of the hotels that they had recommended. And they had a shuttle come pick us up, all the contestants up, very early in the morning. At around like 7 to be at the studio. We arrived at the studio at 7:30 morning, and we all come in, and the contestant coordinators were welcoming us, and we had a rundown in the green room, and we went over some contestant packets and documents, like the category overview, and the coordinators were giving us pointers, and prepping us, and we also practiced our hometown howdies in the green room as well, for the affiliate stations, um, and uh, they had food for us, mostly like breakfast stuff, and coffee, water, and all that wonderful stuff. And Vanna had surprised us in the green room. She had just came in. She had arrived, and she had no makeup on, and she had her Vanna white handbag with like her name and like the blank missing letters, as if it was a
Yeah.
puzzle. Yeah, and she
While
wished us
while
all.
while you were talking about Vanna White, Bobcat
Mhm.
here did ask how it was meeting Pat and Vanna.
Oh yeah, Vanna's just a sweetheart, and Pat's just extremely funny. They're both really nice people, and it was just so surreal. It still is surreal even 2 years later, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. And to meet celebrities, that I've watched on TV ever since I was 9 months old. Uh, I've I've been watching Wheel of Fortune since season 19, and um,
Also, a couple points I want to make. One, I
mhm.
can't believe we're hitting season 40 this upcoming fall for the syndicated run.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy to even think about that Wheel of Fortune's been in syndication for that long, and even I'm going into my 21st season watching Wheel of Fortune. Like I've said a little bit before, I've been watching since season 19, which was 2001 to '02, and it's amazing to see how the show has evolved since then, and it's incredible. And going back to meeting Pat and Vanna, it was just so amazing. And oh my gosh, it's like I wish I could meet them all over again, because it was just so fun being around them, and like being that close to them. And so back to like the taping, after we done all of the green room stuff and the production rundowns, and we finally went into the studio. We got a little tour, a little walk around of the set. They showed us the used letterboard, and the contestant displays with the totals on there, where Pat would look at, off camera, and um, the video monitors, and of course the puzzle board. And we we filmed our hometown howdies first. That was the first thing that we did for the our affiliates. Um, and then we played a few rehearsal rounds, and we got to practice spinning the wheel, and yeah, and then we started taping. Um, we actually in the green room they predetermined who we would be playing against, and I found out I was playing against Emily and Tally from Iowa and Berkeley. And we drew who would be in what taping and what position you would be in, and I drew the yellow position, and I got to be the little team captain for our group, and I picked the second taping randomly from draw, and
So they still do the we drew numbers before the show to determine who played in which game.
yes, in which game, and also like what position you would play. Even
Right,
though, the second, in spite of the second toss up determining who would actually get to spin first.
right.
Mhm. And we started taping at around noon, and everybody audience scheduling like the last times that before the coronavirus that there was a live studio audience. Um, and my parents were there, and you couldn't do any kind of communication with the audience or like with like your guests, because you can bring up to four guests with you, um and the even though the contestants get a shuttle to the studio, the guests were responsible for getting to the studio on their own. They were responsible for transportation, um and what else did I want to mention? And yeah, so yeah, I mentioned that the first taping was at around noon, and all the contestants are in. They have their own little section, um, separated from the main audience, which you don't usually see on camera during the intro. Um, and we were all, if you weren't playing, you would be in the audience getting to watch the other contestants play and seeing all the other episodes be filmed. Now during the quote unquote commercial break, um we would turn our backs, and they would give us water. They would let us know, the contestant coordinators would let us know what the next round is, or for example, okay, next round's gonna be the mystery round, and then like describing what the top dollar value is gonna be and all that stuff, and then they would give us like mini water bottles in between as well, um while they're getting the next puzzle programmed onto for the next round, and switching out the wheel, the respective wedges,
Right.
and yeah,
I do
and then
wonder
you
how,
do.
with the use of the free playback then and the express wedge, I wonder how that added to the weight of the wheel.
Mm, yeah. So that was, the season that I was on. 37 was the last season, or one of the last seasons that the free play was
It
there.
ended in 30. It ended in 38 as it was come at the beginning of 39.
Yeah, and it it added, it was good to have the free place there when I was on. In like the Express. Oh yeah, the Express. It has they added like it has like a wire on the back of the wedge that they install um into the space for like the lighting in all
Right.
the wedge um and also same for the free play. They both had used like this electrical wiring in the back of the wedge that gets installed, and then they had obviously for round four they or yeah round four round five they um
They removed the express wedge.
yep yeah.
So I have to be right back. So while I while I leave the mic, I'll show a clip from your episode, the bonus round.
Oh yes.
And if this gets content tagged, that's why I'm doing the local recording so I can do it
Mhm.
without the video.
Yeah.
Should we bother with a puzzle or you just want to solve it?
Just a solid.
He has almost $29,000 cash and prizes. Obviously, a good puzzle to solve. On this puzzle, you chose place as your category. RSTLNE. Let's get those letters up there. That's all you're going to get from Ben. And now from you, we need 3 more consonants and 1 more vowel.
C.
Mm-hmm.
W.
Mm-hmm.
V.
Yes.
N. A.
Okay. It's a place. You have 10 seconds to tell us what it is. Good luck.
Wavy ocean.
Yeah. $37,000.
I was not sure if it was Wavy Ocean, but I was like, let me just give it a chance, and it definitely paid off. Just watching the show for so long, you just know. It's like almost intuitive, you know?
Okay, I'm back.
All right.
Hope you guys in the channel enjoyed that little clip. Now, how did you come across to guessing a Y and a W and a V for Wavy Ocean?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I get asked that so much, and it's like, why did you call? What made you decide to call a W and a V? Well, it's I looked at the puzzle immediately after the E and the N came up, and I knew from the category that I chose a place that it was an ocean, some kind of ocean. And then I immediately went to okay, what kind of adjectives describe um oh and like or what's an adjective or what's something that's associated with the ocean. I was like, okay, waves. And that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, okay, it can't be wave because the E is already there. And so I was like, okay, wavy with a Y. And so
That's
um
called making good use of the used letterboard right there.
yeah. Yes, and also just knowing that in the bone, or really just in general, Will likes to use adjectives. So it's not just gonna be like ocean. It's gonna they're gonna add an adjective in there to try and throw contestants off, and also using uncommon letters that wouldn't normally be seen in a Wheel of Fortune puzzle, like W or V, or the traditional CDMA that most contestants in the bonus round you typically call. Mashy there. Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
I
Oh,
apologize to the YouTube audience for that interruption too. The thing with dealing with living with your parents, you sometimes have to take care of them. But I say it'd be good for now.
all right.
Now, I'll admit when I was about to hit start broadcast, I got nervous.
Mhm.
And I gotta ask. Plus, Rocky Boy sent this in the forum I linked earlier. Were you nervous when you were taping your episode?
I was a little nervous for in terms of like being on doing it on the actual set in the on the stage and but I would say 85% just like really excited. I was just so anxious to play. It's like I'm so, I was just ready to play, and I, I was worried about how well I was going to do, because I've been playing for so many years, the video game versions, um, and I know that's probably answering one of the questions that somebody submitted. What did you do
Yeah.
to prepare?
Oh, you saw the thing?
Oh, no, I didn't actually.
But Will Watcher 1230 did ask if you prepared when you found out you were going to be a contestant and what you used if you did so.
Yeah, what I did to prepare after I found out that I was selected was that I played the PS4 version of Wheel. I actually played online against other people. And I also played offline against AI as well. I also played Big John's Wheel against computer players as well. And I also watched previous college weeks from previous seasons to get a feel for what the puzzles would be like, what the themes of the puzzles are, and picking up, patterns on what kind of puzzles are typically on a college week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It pays to do your homework.
Yeah.
And something I've been wanting to say when it came to you talking about meeting Pat and Vanna, I know how that is, and how surreal it can feel to be someplace you never thought you'd be. Like
Yeah.
when I went to New York to see the Nintendo World Championships in person. Memories of that stuff is still in my mind. And I'll never live down the number 1050 for Price is Right Live when I got called to come on down. And getting to see Bob Golan on a Wheel of Fortune tangent and do the Price is Right Live.
Wow.
He was on the last one I
That's
went to.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I will say this. I'm not saying he has to be the one to do it, but it would do me a little justice if Bob Golan was chosen for Wheel of Fortune Live.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Considering how he got the cheap in the daytime version by the time he started the hosting gig.
Yeah.
Going back to 500 for your top value in the first couple rounds, and having 2-digit values for the first time since Jugglery's premiere.
Mm.
But I digress. Going back to my list here. For those who did not watch your episode, what all did you win?
Well, I won $65,930, and cash and prizes. The prize that I won was a trip to Barbados, valued at $8,480. Um, and I won 37,000, the season minimum at the time in the
Right.
bonus round. hmm and uh, $20,450 in cash. Well, 57,000 for $450 in cash, plus the $8,480 from my trip.
Once again, I'll say congratulations. It's rare that you know someone who's been on a game show and actually won.
Yeah. Cute.
Now, I know contestants usually have to sign some forms saying they won't say anything about the results of a show until it airs. Luna from before wanted to ask how hard it was for you to keep said results a secret.
It was so hard. Um, yes, I had to. I was under a non-disclosure agreement, um, and it was, going back to Indiana after my episode was taped. It's almost $66,000 richer, um, and coming back and returning like nothing happened, and a lot of people were asking me, a lot of my peers were asking me, is like, did you win? Did you win? Did you win? How'd you do? And I was like, you have to find out. And I even couldn't reveal my air date right away. I
Right.
had to wait 2 weeks before my air date, um, that will allow me to announce the air date, um, which
Right.
was on that was on March 3rd. Um, that I had was given the green light from Wheel that you can now announce your air date and let everybody know and share. Um, yeah,
And for the record, his air date was March 17th of 2020, right
yes.
around the time that we almost started panicking over the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and also, that season getting cut short, did not making the 100 its typical 195 episodes, because they ended up halting production around the time that my episode had aired.
Right. And now I know that I'm reading off a notepad document, but besides that, how do you think I'm doing so far?
Oh, you're doing excellent. You're doing excellent. And I'm not saying that just to say that, like, I really genuinely mean that. Like, you're doing a great job.
Good, because I just wanted to know if this was a doable thing for others in the future, for other
Yeah.
shows even.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, it's got its own flow, and
Right.
I you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
Of course.
I was just having that self confidence issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have asked about the wheel being heavy, but was the props there, including the poster board, as big in the studio as it looks on TV?
It was a lot bigger. It was a little bit bigger than it looks on TV, because the illusion of the camera like being zoomed in, or the camera being far back, but the camera's like zoomed in. Um, and um, the wheels a little bit and it looks on TV too. And also like the set look like it looks smaller the- than it looks on like on TV a little bit, and
Yeah,
I was
I've heard about
wow.
I heard about that illusion that they
Hmm.
said smaller than it looks on TV.
Hmm. Yeah. And um the yeah I'm still in contact with most of the other contestants that were on that week. I follow most of them on Instagram and other social media platforms. And yeah.
Going back to Wheel of Fortune Live for a second, do you think you'll be going to the one near you?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I mean, I have to, you know. I mean, unless if they, for 2023, I did hear from someone that they're adding more dates for 2023. Um, and so hopefully they do come to my area. Um,
Right.
yeah.
I'll be going to the one in my area too.
Mm.
And I'll see if there's any wheel differences layout wise.
Yeah.
Now I have one last question from the bunch I've gotten beforehand, and this is
Mhm.
from Christopher Rahaman. Any advice for any future players who want to be on the show?
Hmm. Any advice for future contestants? I would definitely say study, study. Prepare as much as you can. Watch the show every night. Um, and if you end up getting on a specific theme week, like, you know, America's Game or some specific theme week, watch previous seasons and see what what the typical puzzles are,
Right.
um, based off of
Kind
that
of like
week.
how, kind of like how the perfect bid on The Price is Right happened in the showcases, or Michael Larson. They did their
Oh,
homework, so to speak. They did not
yeah,
cheat.
they did not cheat. Yes. And
When I was looking for the clip of your bonus round, I did see at least one comment try to call it rigged,
oh yeah.
without actually saying rigged, but have to say that's a pet peeve of mine, knowing people like you who've been on the show
Mm,
and being in the live shows like I've been.
mhm.
Don't
Yeah,
know why people still think game shows are rigged in modern days,
yeah.
and I
There's
wonder how many of them were alive in the 50s.
Yeah, it's like they literally put laws in place. Like they would not purposely break any of those rules after the scandals from the 50s and 60s.
Exactly. This is a case of learn your history, fools.
Exactly.
And if anyone here is part of that crowd that thinks game shows are rigged, I'm sorry I called you evil, but I have to call it like I see it.
Yeah.
Now, I know it was college week, so how was the reception at your college when it aired?
Oh wow, yeah. Everybody at my college was extremely excited, and it was I was actually the first person from that college to represent them on the show, um, ever in out of all the college weeks, um, which was pretty historic. for them, and I actually had that realization. It was like, oh, I'm gonna be the first person from this school to represent them on a college week, and I had found out um, that they were looking for the last 10 to 11 years that they were looking for somebody from the school that I went to to represent them on the show for college week, and they couldn't find anybody that fit the mold, or they couldn't really find anybody until I came along.
Ah. Well,
Yeah.
good thing they did settle for you. Sorry if I use the one verbiage by saying settling on you, but it's a good thing you got picked, that's for sure. Well, I'm kinda thinking, besides all the stuff for Wheel of Fortune, did you do anything in Hollywood or anywhere around that area?
um, as I wish we would have stayed there, at least even if it was like for a little vacation. But we stayed there. We got there the day before the tape day. And we kind of just lounged in the in the hotel for most of the day. And then the day of, I only stayed there for like a couple days, and then they flew back after um the taping. It's like, oh, we have to. It's like, oh, we got to go back. I'm like, no. Like, I wish I would have stayed there, um, a little bit longer than I had. But and my my mom and I are planning to go back down to Hollywood, and make it a proper vacation someday.
And I know I'm kind of running long now, but is there really anything else you'd like to talk about before we end this thing?
Oh, I would just like to say thank you so much for thinking of this, and I'm glad that I was able to be, able to make this happen.
Well, as soon as I started exiting, we get a new chatter.
Oh,
You know how things can get.
yeah.
And also, I can't believe how much of a response I've gotten from all this, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd be this deep into it. I, I figured it was going to be a throwaway idea, to be honest.
Oh,
But again, congratulations on your winnings.
thank you.
And I do want to try to make this interviewing a former contestant thing a little more frequently, but I don't know who else to contact.
uh,
I was lucky
yeah.
I remember you being on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you thought about Mario GS.
Yeah. Haven't
Mhm.
gotten a response back from him on when he'd be available.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. Man, I feel alive right now.
Oh.
Well, if if there's nothing else to talk about, actually I do want to ask you something. Do you
Yeah.
think it'd be possible for classic Wheel of Fortune ever be re-aired? Especially now since they use the version of the Changing Keys theme again.
Wow. I feel like that could be a possibility. I mean, they've done it before, at least on GSN.
Right. And then
Um,
them having the Newlywed Game on Buzzer now, at least the 90s version.
yeah. I do feel like it's gonna happen, and for season 40, we're getting a new executive producer as well.
And yeah, the thing about the whole executive producer thing for next season,
Yeah,
this is the first time since the Harry Friedman era, if not further on, that Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune has two different executive producers.
yeah. Mhm.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think Michael Davies is perfect for Jeopardy. I know that he's worked on Millionaire, in that uh, quiz show arena. So I think Jeopardy would be the perfect fit for him, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the new EP for Wheel has, what she has in store. She's also, I think, the first executive producer, like, woman, since, I don't know. I think Merv was no Merv because Nancy Jones was producer, not
Yeah.
executive. So she's actually
Now,
the first, yeah, the
I
first
was
female executive. Yeah.
sorry for interrupting you.
Oh no, no, you're good.
I did
No.
see a question in the chat though that besides Wheel of Fortune, if you were wanting to be on a game show, what would you choose?
Well, if the CNBC version of Deal or No Deal was still on, I would have chose Deal or No Deal, that particular version. But since
Right.
that version's not on
One
anymore, I would
season
have
and
chose,
done.
yeah, I would have chose Press Your Luck. Um, that would be the next show. Um, I would choose either that or Price is Right.
Lem- Yeah, I was just letting this guy know on the chat in the chat that he missed a lot of it.
Oh, but there will be a replay of this, right?
Yeah. And I did drop some frames, but not many.
Okay.
But since we're pretty much on fumes now, plus I don't know when my company's supposed to come back, we may have some fibbage in store later for the family.
Mhm.
Speaking of, do you ever do Jackbox?
Um, I do sometimes. My particular favorites are Guespionage and Trivia Murder Party.
I like Trivia Murder Party as well.
Mhm.
Do you usually keep up with the info for the new packs?
From time to time I do, yeah.
Yeah, I keep up with the news as well. But we'd be going off topic now. But we can talk about it off air.
Yeah.
But before I lose any more frames and before anything else happens, I guess I'll have to sign off. Hope everyone on YouTube enjoyed this. If you
Yes.
haven't already, subscribe to both my channel and Kristen's channel for that matter.
Yes.
And hopefully this interviews by Whammy special style, me talking to actual contestants, gets to be more than a one-day affair.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for the Fans Versus Challenge later on
Yes.
this weekend.
Mhm.
Until then, happy spinning. And man, that sounded cheesy.